Imagine not just surviving, but thriving for nearly 50 years of marriage and ministry. Hi, I'm Alec McClellan. This is a Jigsaw Guide to Life. And I'm here today with my wonderful wife, Cheryl. And we have the great privilege of talking to two of our favorite people in the world, Josh and Dottie McDowell, two people that we get to serve alongside with Josh McDowell Ministry. Josh and Dottie have been married and in ministry for nearly 50 years. And God has opened doors for Josh to speak all around the world, talking to tens of millions of people, writing multiple books in many different languages. And you can find out more about Josh's incredible testimony, particularly in the book and in the movie Undaunted, which is a stirring and a compelling example of God's grace and favor working in the lives of broken people as he draws them to him. And Josh has shared that story around the world. And what I wanted to do today was to dip a little bit into something about your lives together, Josh and Dottie, as God continues to use your marriage and your ministry to encourage others. And Josh, I wanted to ask you, as you grew up in a broken home, how did that impact your ideas about marriage, your idea about how you would treat a spouse if you were ever to get married?
Well, basically what my family showed me is how I didn't want to have a marriage, what type of marriage, and how I didn't want to treat my spouse. That's what my home life showed me. What I didn't want to have, it didn't show me what I wanted to have.
And I know that that kind of polar opposite, how did you find the ability to overcome some of the shaping and conditioning that you had from the bad example that you had growing up? Because maybe some people, they almost follow in the footsteps of those that they don't want to follow.
Probably a couple by the name of Dick and Charlotte Day, who when I went to seminary became one of my dearest, closest, most intimate friends. And their marriage, their couple, their interaction with me showed me what I do want and how to have it.
And Dottie, I know your background was really different from Josh's. How did that prepare you for marriage? And then could you also tell us a little bit about how you and Josh met and started dating?
I came from a very different background. I would say my parents were loving, devoted, tender, and just loyal. And so that was my model, and that's what I knew that I wanted. So I saw them play that out, and that was my goal. Yeah.
When you saw Josh for the first time, was it love at first sight, or how did that kind of play out?
I was attracted to him from the very get-go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And Josh?
I told my roommate as soon as I heard him speak that I wanted to marry somebody just like him, and she laughed. And about 6 weeks or six months later, we were engaged.
Fantastic. I remember you telling me once that you wanted to marry somebody who wanted to change the world. And you saw Josh, and that was your heartbeat kind of connected at that point. Right. Yeah, fantastic.
That's exactly right.
Every time we get in an argument, Dottie says, go out and change the world.
Get out. That's great. Could you tell us a little bit about a tough time in your marriage and how God brought you guys through that together?
Well, I would say that Josh has a tendency to be very direct and a little bit abrasive, and that hurts my feelings. So early on, I'm a very non-confrontational person. So early on, I just stuffed that and put it under the rug. And I finally learned little by little that you can't do that in a marriage. You have to talk things out. So I would begin little by little to share that my feelings were hurt. And every time, he would always come back and say he was so sorry. So that gave me courage to say, that kind of hurt my feelings. And I think that's been very important for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Dottie would say something like, honey, we need to talk. Ugh! I knew I was in trouble, and I knew I had slipped back into my old ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I still struggle with it. I'm getting so much better by not being abrasive and direct and all, but I still got a ways to go. But we still got a few years of marriage left to work on it.
Fantastic.
I think if we look at the world. And one of the troubling statistics is that even within a Christian context, we see the breakdown of families, we see the breakdown of marriage. And to look at examples of faithful marriage that's held together through the good times, through the difficult times, is not easy to find. And I know there's no secret recipe in terms of a magic button you can push, you know, to hold things together. It's tough. It's tough in life and in marriage and in ministry particularly. But we still have a number of minutes left. And so I would love to hear you both sharing some words of encouragement to others who are looking at this and thinking, maybe they're in a tough time in their life. Maybe they're really struggling in their marriage and they're thinking, that's an impossible dream. How can you hang in there? How can you come through this? And as I said right at the start, not just to survive, but to actually thrive in marriage. Some things that you can share that would really encourage others out there that I'm sure are so hungry to hear what you have to share.
Well, I immediately tell people, call Alex and Cheryl. They'll help.
There you go.
I figured that's the best out. Saves me a lot of time.
For communication, we speak different languages, but that's another problem. Yeah.
I would have to say that probably the most powerful verse I read when we were first married was Ephesians 5:33, and it continues to be powerful. Ephesians 5:33 says, it basically tells us to men should love their wives and women should respect their husbands. And the reason that is so powerful is because my greatest need is to be loved, and a man's greatest need is to be respected. And so when I see relationships that really work, it's a relationship where a woman is really expressing respect. And what you have to do is find out what says respect to my husband. That's what every woman really needs to determine. And a man needs to figure out what says I love you to my wife. And for each of us, it's different, but that's such a powerful principle. And when it works, it just keeps motivating the couple to continue to love and respect.
Mm-hmm. Josh, what would you add to that from your perspective as well? And I think adding the context of people who are in ministry, they may not be in full-time ministry, but there's so many pitfalls and dangers in the world that we live in, the culture that we're part of. And it's just wonderful just to hear people share, and not from a position of, hey, we got it all figured out. This is easy. We've got the perfect, this is tough. This is difficult, but God carries us through. And that's a great, great message. So even from your perspective, me on the road, speaking, writing, engaging with people all around the world, maybe some things, even that people can be aware of and ready for some of the challenges that might lie ahead, to be prepared for them when they come.
I would say with marriage and ministry is communications. We all communicate in a little different style and all. My style of communication was, I'm not a detail-oriented individual. Dottie would ask me a question, I give her a
Bottom line.
kind of the bottom line. How's everything going in the trip? Great. Well, where are you? Oh, I'm in Tulsa. What are you doing? Well, I have 2 meetings tonight. Well, what are they about? I would never give details. And it just frustrated Dottie. And so one thing I've had to learn over the years is to give details. It's like I'd come home and I'd say, so-and-so had a baby. Was it a boy or girl? I don't know. It was a baby, a human baby. That's all I need to know. Well, now I've learned I come home and I say, so-and-so had a baby. Was it a boy? Yes. Weighed this much, was born this time. They named it this, everything. And I found out I could improve my communications with Dottie by giving more detail. But then I had to learn to listen, because I'd ask Dottie a question, she'd give me all the details. And I'd be thinking, just give me the bottom line. I don't need to know every minute of your day today. And so I've had to learn to talk differently and to listen differently. I'm getting better at it. I'm not the best in the world right now, but I'm getting better at it. But really seen a difference in our marriage when I try to do that.
One thing I love about Dottie, one of the first times I went for coffee with her, her phone rang and out of her bag came the Hallelujah chorus. And she's like, oh, that's Josh. I better answer it. And I just thought, you know what, how fantastic, because she was celebrating the fact that she was getting to connect with you wherever you were, and it made her happy. And I loved that, because often I feel as a younger wife and a younger mom thinking, oh shoot, my phone rings, that's an interruption into whatever I'm in the midst of doing. And here she was, and it wasn't an interruption, it was a celebration. And just that little moment of, oh wow, this is the person I love. Out of all the people in the world, this is the one I really want to connect with. And it was just a fantastic reminder and a model to me. I love that about you, Dottie. You celebrate Josh and you love what he does.
I do. Thank you.
When I speak, I talk about Dottie all the time. And for two reasons. One, I want anyone in the crowd or listening to me know, don't ever come on to me. I'm a one-woman man. I'm committed to Dottie, period. And I want, because you'd be amazed, well, Alex, you're on the road some, of what women will do. And so I like to let it be known publicly, hey, I'm a monogamous person with one woman, that's Dottie. So don't even think about coming on to me. Second, I want every person, especially every young person ever hears me speak, to know that a happy, fulfilled, loving marriage is really possible. And that you can find it through, one way is through Christ. And I want every young person ever hears me speak, know, hey, a happy, loving, intimate marriage is possible that can last 50 years.
Wow. This kind of opportunity is such a blessing for us, and through the podcast, it's going to be a blessing to so many others. Cheryl and I want to communicate our thanks for the friendship that we get to enjoy with you both. You're so generous in terms of your outlook on life, the way that you pour into the lives of others. And even as we get to know you, and you've got wonderful kids and grandkids that you pour into, but through Josh McDowell Ministry and the global impact, it's just wonderful to share what the Bible is teaching in one sense, but also you're living it out and you're sharing some of those trials. You're putting skin on a lot of the messages that God has given you both to share. And it's such a blessing. So,
but it's very important to realize in that, Alex. It's one of the greatest things I ever realized when I realized that Dottie doesn't come before my ministry. So many people say, well, my wife, my marriage comes before my ministry. No. My wife and my family is my first ministry. They don't come before my ministry. When I walk home from a trip and I walk through that front door, my first ministry is beginning. And to me, that was a big attitude change in behavior and everything when I realized my family does not come before my ministry. My family is my first ministry.
Hey, I want to thank you both for sharing today. We appreciate as God continues to use you around the world and just for blessing us and blessing many today. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you. Love you both.
Take care. Love you too. Bye.